Hello, everybody, and welcome back to episode 136 of the Everything Moto Racing podcast. I hope you've had a fantastic week, as always. And I am back with Lauren and Cameron for a full house.
Hello.
Woohoo!
Welcome back, everybody. Squad goals and all that.
We are squad goals, actually.
We
Yeah,
actually
I
are.
stand
It's
by
like
that.
the dream team, isn't it?
Literally.
Yeah.
What a
And oh yeah, and we've got quite a lot to talk about today. With the announcement this morning of the new technical regulations for 2027 finally being officially confirmed.
Yep. I keep mentioning them every week when we're talking about Honda
Yep.
and Yamaha. And now they're finally talking about it.
Well, you say
This is-
finally, it's also 3 years in advance.
Yeah, but they finally, like, it's been in, like, talks about these regulations for months and months and months. Like, oh, yes, it'll change. But now it's finally official,
We have
being
details.
confirmed that things will change. And it's caused a bit of a stir on social media. A lot of people are quite a bit... There's a lot of opinions being thrown around. It's
You're
quite
kidding.
hilarious.
You are kidding. There's
I know,
opinions.
crazy.
on
Opinions
people-
on social media.
And something that
What?
people have no idea about.
Yeah,
People
I
have
know,
opinions
mental.
on that. Absolutely wild. Who'da
Nuts,
thunk?
isn't it? I know, right?
What are they saying?
Well, it's quite interesting actually because firstly we'll go through the regulations. So, firstly, and the major one I think is that engines will be decreased from 1000cc to 850cc, just like they did in 2007 when it swapped down to an 800cc engine. This will decrease. This is from the official email that Dorna sent out. This will decrease top speeds, making the sport safer, and increase mileage, making it more efficient and sustainable. I'm not sure how increasing mileage will make something more efficient and sustainable, but yeah, and the maximum bore will reduce from 81 to 75 millimeters, which will also limit performance. So no more 200 to 300 mile horsepower bikes, and no more 230 mile an hour top speeds. Makes the engine more road relevant at the same time as ensuring they keep the characteristics that make MotoGP as spectacular as it is. But for me, that makes no sense because, I mean, the top super bikes are all 1000cc. So how is that road relevant when 850cc, there's not many top spec bikes? You got the R7, but again, that's like a 700cc bike. A lot more around 700, which is what Moto2 is based on. So, yeah, I digress. The engines also be changed from 7 engines to 6 if there's a 20 race calendar. If it goes to 21 plus races, there'll be 7 engines in the allocation. They'll also be using 100% sustainable fuel in 2027. And there'll be a reduction in the fuel tank capacity from 22 litres to 20. Aero, this is a major one as well, will be reduced and more slightly controlled from 2027. Minimizing the negative effects, meaning that the bike actually at the front will be 50 millimeters narrower and the nose will be pushed back 50 millimeters as well, reducing the effect of aero on the straights and braking areas, which will create hopefully more closer racing and even more overtaking. And then at the back, the aero behind the rider will also be part of the homologation. Teams will be able to update it once a season. The ride height and whole shot devices will be banned completely to make the sport safer. Given apparently this will give even more importance to the skill of each rider, just like aero is aimed at increasing their ability to overtake. So it's all about trying to get more racing and more overtakes, which is what MotoGP has struggled with. And then to try and level the playing field even further, they're also making it so that all the GPS data from all the riders will be available to all the teams from each session, providing data to all the competitors, which offers better opportunities to progress for less performing teams and riders such as Honda and Yamaha at a controlled cost. And then finally, concessions as well will continue, but the new technical regulations come into force in 2027, all manufacturers will start the season in rank B, which is, they've got 4 ranks at the moment, rank B, and then it'll be assessed again mid-season as well, and then they can change up or down the ranks. So that's the concessions at the moment, or the changes, shall we say. And before we go into other people's opinions, I kind of wanted to hear about what you guys thought.
I'll take it away, I suppose.
Do.
I mean, I'm happy that we've got clarification on a lot of things. Obviously, I'm not exactly qualified to make any sort of opinion on a lot of the changes that are being made. I think when you talk about, say, the concessions being altered slightly, I really like that one. I think that's really interesting. I like the idea of it being a more level playing field. I like the idea of it being assessed throughout the season too, which helps massively. Like if someone's really overperforming, then, cut those concessions and give it to the teams that really need it, that sort of thing. I think the concessions that they brought in for this year is already a welcomed change. So that little added extra, I think, for 2027 is going to be good. I think the data for all the teams is another one which I can comment on, and sort of like, I think that's going to be really, really useful. I think being able to know where your closest rival is gaining or losing on the circuit is going to be huge. Like, you already hear riders talking about, oh yeah, I was able to learn from my teammates' data, and that helped me a lot. But now if you're able to see the other 21 guys, what they're doing, how they're doing it, that's going to massively, massively impact the game. And I think it's going to make it more competitive, because if you're getting like the answers to the test, basically, if you're struggling and you don't really know why, and you're looking at everyone else who maybe isn't struggling, and you can go, okay, right, I've figured it out now, like this is what they're doing differently to me, and then you can go out and put a lap together and boom, you're up at the front. I know it might not be as easy as that, but in bog standard, like looking at it, it could be really, really good for the championship and bring guys closer together, which then all of these like aero changes, etc., also help with. I think it's going to bring everything just back in a bit. I don't think we're going to see maybe as many runaway winners. I think we're going to see a lot more overtakes. I think we're going to see more rivalries formed, because, if all the data's out there, everyone sort of knows what's going on. All the information is accessible. So, yeah, at the minute, I can only really see it being a good thing. But again, I'm not going to judge something 3 years in advance. If it comes to it and it's crap, I'm going to say it's crap. So at the minute, looking at it, I think these regulations sound great, and I'm really excited for it. So yeah.
Okay. And Cameron?
Well, I mean, I guess I'm in the same boat as Lauren, in as much as I'm really not qualified to have much of a sort of opinion of authority on these things. I mean, I'm just going through the lists in order. The engines, going from 1000cc to 850. Ultimately, they're still going to be fast bikes. They're going to be quicker than super bikes, even though there's that CC discrepancy. They're still going to develop the hell out of these engines, and they will be fast. Sure, like whatever. That to me almost feels token gesture-y in a way. But I'm going to put an asterisk next to that, as with everything I say. The fuel, sustainable, like, sure, great, okay, we love these things. Sustainability, if it means the racing lasts longer, as in throughout history, into years to come, like, fine. It's a good point that people raise on social media about, well, what are they doing about the sort of logistics behind the scenes of all the jets, lorries, everything that make these races happen. What's happening with sustainability there? Whatever, another topic. It's not addressed in this email for obvious reasons. Aero, cool. So this is the stuff we're getting into where it's like this is what has been really tangible for fans as has been the difference between bikes, and has kind of really separated the rider from machine, and whoever's bike has the best aero, moving on to ride height devices and whole shot devices, whoever's bike has the best of that tech seems to be able to just have a really clear advantage. Things like the ride height devices and whole shot devices, again, that's just another thing where if it goes wrong, your race is completely ruined, and it's less about how well the rider does. It's there's technology that can go wrong there. GPS data thing, I don't really know what that's about, if I'm honest. I understand it in principle. Like they're everybody can see times where everybody's racing through the track and how well they're doing at certain points. So you can compare against that, but I mean, if you're going slower than someone through a chicane and you're going through there as fast as you can, I don't really know like what someone else's data is going to do other than like depress you. But whatever. The concessions thing, like, I don't know. I think it's good that it's almost being reset in a way and it's being assessed more often. Like, that's cool because the current concessions model, so to speak, like works. It seems to be allowing manufacturers that are maybe struggling to catch up a bit and those that have a clear advantage or having development locked, etc. Like, cool. I think, like, ultimately, these decisions will have come about after months, years of feedback, conversations with people with much bigger brains than me. They'll have had feedback from engineers, riders, and this is what it is determined, particularly, you know, with the aerodynamics, engines, and data and everything. This is what's boiled down to. This is making the biggest difference and is potentially ruining the spectacle, as they keep saying. It sounds like we're almost getting a hybrid between bikes that we saw maybe 2016, 2017. You know, when we started seeing wings coming in, but there wasn't really mad aero on bikes. Ducati started getting a bit wild with it towards the end of the 2010s. Whole shot devices, things like that. You know, a hybrid between those bikes and your kind of 2007, 2008 bikes with the smaller engines. If it develops closer racing, which I'm sure it will, because I'm going to put my faith, like I say, in the people with bigger brains than me, but then also that interesting comment from Casey Stoner on Instagram,
which we'll go into in a little bit, yeah.
Which we'll go into in a little bit. I also trust that man's opinion, which seems to contradict the intentions of these regulation changes. So
yeah,
I don't know. I'm all for a shake-up, and I'm all for it, especially if it's going to make things closer in terms of the racing. Like, things are pretty good now, but it would be nice to also just see it like less of the usual suspects up the front. You know what I mean?
I think that's the thing that a lot of people have said, and even in the email itself was sort of alluding to, that they want the rider talent to decide who comes out on top, not who has the best bike, which, you know, it's not like I'm saying, oh, Pecco didn't deserve to win last week because he has the best bike. Not the case. Yeah, he has the best bike, but he also had to put the performance in. Whereas, you know, maybe in 3 years' time, you know, with all of this put together, things get closer. It's going to be who has the most talent on the day, which you want to see. That's the whole thing. We always talk about, you know, the rider personalities and stuff like that, and who's like the alien riders and who's at the top. And I think that'll just separate the good from the, not from the bad, but it'll determine a bit more of a tier list on like who is the best, and maybe decide a bit faster who should maybe be moved along and that sort of thing, and, you know, who should be moved up into the class, and maybe we'll see a bit more of a rotation and stuff like that too, which could be interesting.
Yeah, I agree. I agree with both your points that, you know, it should be better for the sport, and hopefully we'll see more in terms of the talent coming through, because Marc Marquez even himself has come out and said the bikes are a lot more about how, you know, on the day, for example, the bikes are much more about who can operate the aero better and who can do this better, rather than actually who's faster at putting a lap down on a motorcycle without any of these aids. Because Marquez is obviously a rider who likes to have everything turned down a bit, much like Casey Stoner.
Yeah.
Two incredibly naturally talented motorcycle riders who prefer to ride the motorcycle instead of being electronically assisted throughout the laps, and having that TC to lie fall back on, and having all these other aid, anti-wheelie, the ride height devices, you know, so having to control control your corner exit speed and the lines you hit to make sure you get the best speed down the straight. It's more of I can come out this corner in a different angle, press a button, and I'll still gain that extra top speed on the straight because I got that ride height device, and because my bike's a bit more powerful than everybody else's. Whereas another rider on, say Marquez on a Honda, if he didn't have that ride height device, could do the same. But like, right, I need to enter this corner a little bit earlier so I can carry more corner speed on the exit and get on the gas a bit earlier to carry more speed onto the straight. And that's where riders will use their talent and their ability to make up that time and make up that lap time. And that's where Casey Stoner excelled on the Ducati, because there were issues on the Ducati and he's able to adapt his riding style and adapt the way he rode a motorbike to the Ducati to enable it to do exactly what he did on that bike, which is win 10 races or something like that, or 13 races I think it was, in just his second year in MotoGP.
Yeah.
And his teammate then in 2018, Marco Melandri, 2008, sorry, was 17th overall. Stoner was second in the championship, I believe, or third, because Stoner could ride around the issues on the same motorbike that Melandri was on. Melandri was not slow. He won a multitude of MotoGP races. I think he came second overall in 2005 behind Rossi, or 2004, sorry. One of those. Melandri wasn't slow and wasn't a slouch. And now you see riders who, I'm going to be quite brutal here, to be honest. Riders who's in the lower classes, talent hasn't exactly... They've not stomped riders into the ground. They've not been an exceptional rider, but then they can jump on a MotoGP bike on, say, a Ducati and stomp out riders on, say, Hondas and Yamahas that may be a better rider than them and win a race. But again, it goes back to Lauren's point as well of being the best rider on the day. And yes, I'm talking about Didier, who was the best rider in the day at Qatar last year and deserved to win. He overtook Bagnaia to win that race as well. Is he one of the best riders in the world and should be on the MotoGP grid? That's debatable when you've got Fabio Quartararo on a Yamaha who cannot extract his talent on the bike because the bike is holding him back. Whereas these regulations hopefully will enable a more level playing field with the GPS, and riders like Fabio can go out and actually get the results that he deserves to have without leaving Yamaha.
You just put a really good thought in my head there with that point that you were making of when you think about a lot of the riders who've been in the class for a long time before all the aero has come in. So Maverick Vinales, Alex Rins has been here quite a long time now. They're two that popped in my head straight away. I can't think of anybody else. Marquez. But riders who have been there sort of just before the aero got very, very big, they're not consistently at the front anymore. No. Apart from maybe minus Marquez now, but he's on a bike that, obviously is
because now he's on the bike.
I'm wondering if that's why we don't see them at the front anymore. We're often talking about their talent, and or they just passed it, has their time passed them by and they're sort of on their way out of MotoGP. If those guys manage to make it to 2027 and all this stuff is stripped off these bikes, what are the chances that it's actually those guys that end up being at the front? Like, is it masking a lot of riders' performances? Because if you're on the best aerodynamic bike and that the one that has all the singing and dancing bits on it, you're more likely to win. But what if all this gets taken off and all of a sudden, say, Taka Nakagami's winning races,
Yeah.
Like, I'd find that so much more interesting to watch, and we could actually talk about riders' talents then without sounding stupid. What if 2027 comes around and we're talking about this and then it turns out that actually all these guys who we thought were amazing are nowhere to be seen when all this stuff gets stripped off the bikes? I'm not saying that's going to happen, but there's a big chance that it could happen, that the 8 guys who are riding Ducatis at the minute could be absolutely nowhere.
Terrible. Well, I've got 2 points to make from the back of that. One, Bagnaia is a superb rider, right? Yeah. You don't win a Moto2 World Championship by being a crap rider. They're equal bikes. He's clearly performed at a level that has won him a championship. So has Franco Morbidelli, who has not had that in MotoGP on the Yamaha. Is Francesco Bagnaia a rider who, on level playing field, could do it in MotoGP against Fabio, against Vinales, against Marquez, against any of the top guys and girls? Well, there's no girls, but the top riders. Could he do that? Potentially. I mean, his racecraft and all that isn't exceptional. Another rider that really should be at the front, Johan Mir. Absolutely
Yeah.
unbelievable ride. Like Frankie Carcetti, as I said in the off-track podcast I mentioned the other week, he was talking about Johan Mir's talent. He's seen everything from Johan Mir. He's seen his data, he's seen everything. And he talks about how exceptionally talented Johan Mir is. He's won a MotoGP World Championship, and he didn't win that on a fluke because the year after that, he backed that up with a third place. And then he got injured the year after that. Exceptional rider on a horrific bike. And my other point is, when we had Manuel Gonzalez on the podcast a little while ago, we were talking about the World Supersport 300 class. And he was angry at the class because the class isn't about how good you are as a rider. You can be the best rider there, but because every rider on that grid has a bike maybe that's better than other people, you can all win races and fight at the front despite not being a very good rider because you can rely on the slipstream and rely on these other things. And then it makes me wonder at MotoGP, where are there some riders who their lack of ability potentially is being masked by the ability of their motorcycle?
It's plausible. I mean, going back a little bit to what you're saying about how, things like bike management, tire management, racecraft and all that maybe get mashed a bit by these bikes. At the moment, if you're doing a race simulation on the Friday or even the Saturday, and you chew up the rear tire quicker than you wanted to, back in the day, he says, you'd have maybe said that to your
Crew chief.
your crew chief, sorry, yeah. And they'd have been like, well, what are you going to do about it? Just stop being an animal in the rear tire. Do you know what I mean? They can maybe tweak something with the suspension and everything, but you don't want to upset like balance and feel and everything. Whereas now, you say it to your crew chief and they're like, oh, don't worry, we'll fuck about with the computer, basically.
We'll mess about the aero.
Yeah, and yeah, don't worry, just keep doing your thing. Like, give it a shot, but no worries, the computer's got it. So, I know I'm probably being hella reductive there, but the computers and the aero and everything really is masking a lot of what a rider would have to do to make improvements throughout a weekend. The improvements are relied on with the setup now more so than a rider's approach to a circuit. And you're saying as well, it might be interesting to see these guys that we think are unbelievably fast at the moment. Your Jorge Martin, I think we could probably agree that on his day, Martin is probably like the fastest on the track, really. Like, he just seems to have something that others don't. But when we move to these new bikes in 2027, he's going to still be in the paddock, failing some kind of career-ending injury or something. That extreme riding style might not work. All this aero, all these bits and everything might be keeping him rubber side down, but then as soon as they go, it might be like, oh, that's not going to work so well. Although he has come up through ranks without aero. So,
yeah, exactly.
But yeah, I think everyone's going to have to change the way they approach the weekend and their riding style. I just hope we don't go back to having absolute dogs of an Aprilia and KTM.
Yeah, I don't think we will, because they've got the investment now.
Yeah.
KTM, for example, they know they've cracked the code. And you got to remember, these teams now have the right people in place to actually push these bikes into that direction. And if you are struggling, you've got the cheat sheet. You go, oh, well, these three Ducati riders are excelling in this corner and on the right-hand corner. And we'll just take their data. Okay, it looks like they can brake at this point because of this. And then they can coast a little bit on the corner entry. Why is that? And then you could potentially even go and have a look at a journalist article where they've taken all the close-up shots of these Ducatis and go, it's because they've got their aero and their fairing shaped like that allows them to then carry a bit more corner speed in, and then they can adapt their bike to that because they've got the access to that data.
Yeah.
Which will keep everybody kind of in line a little bit and will help Yamaha and will help Honda. I kind of feel like it's a little bit like it's punishing the teams that have had success whilst giving the riders who have not had teams that are not a success because maybe they've not listened to their riders, maybe they've just gone in the wrong way and gone, well, you've not done very well, but here's a bonus. If you're badly performing at your job, you're not going to get a bonus or a cheat sheet, so then you can, if you're a car salesman and you can't sell any cars, you're not going to get a cheat sheet and an ability and like a hindrance on the top guys who are selling the cars. They're not going to handicap them so that you can get as good as them, are they? Or in this, it feels like they are handicapping the top teams and the top riders to give the guys who aren't very good a shot at it. And it doesn't seem fair either.
I don't know. It's more of a reset than a punishment. It's the same for everyone. Everyone, they're not allowing Yamaha and everyone to keep their aero and ride height devices and stuff while stripping Ducati, but
it's more about the GPS share more than anything else. It's of Ducati found something. Right then, everybody else, here you go, have a look.
I mean, on paper, it definitely favours Honda and Yamaha because you go back, if these bikes are going to look how they did 10 years ago, who was doing well? Honda
exactly.
and Yamaha. But since Aero has been announced, who's doing well? Ducati, Aprilia, KTM. They've all started to do really, really well. So now you've got this. It probably will bring them back down to a level playing field, or we could see Honda and Yamaha not dominance again, but will they automatically just be right on the pace because this is what they're used to, this is what they're good at. For so many years, they were the bikes that you wanted to be on. Ducati have always been pushing for the aero because they know for a fact that that's how they make their bike better, and now it is considered the best bike on the grid. But they do have 3 years now to work on it and will have been working on it behind the scenes. So, I doubt that they're going to show up and be slow, but it's going to be really interesting because they're the ones who've been pushing for the aero for so many years and have always tried to sort of think outside the box and bring the people in and push for the aero, whereas, you've seen how reluctant Honda and Yamaha have been to go down that route. So I think it just makes it so exciting. I don't know why people are complaining about it. If there's an opportunity to make racing exciting, you have to be excited about it. And until it proves us wrong and say it turns out to be crap racing, then we go, okay, well, this was not the right move to make. We need to, ride this one out and then start making changes after X amount of years. But yeah, people are being a bit quick to judge, I think, these new regulations.
Yeah, I mean, I'm quite happy with them. I don't like the reduction in CC. I think that's a negative thing. It will also, they're saying about sustainability and stuff like that and saving fuel, but unless they place a harsh rev limiter on it, those 850s will rev harder and higher than the 1000cc. Especially with how engine technology changes over the few years. We could genuinely see those revving harder, which is then burning more fuel and using more emissions to get there. It could be that because they've changed the bore of the engine, that's not possible. And they may have already thought about that because these are people who are cleverer than me, smarter than me, and have qualifications to back that up, whereas I'm just a guy sat behind a laptop right now. But there are smaller CC engines can rev higher and harder to achieve the same speeds, which I think, given how well Ducati can do things, Ducati could achieve the same speed and similar horsepowers with a lower CC in there.
I think the fuel savings probably are going to be fairly negligible. I suppose over an entire grid's worth of 3-day weekends and 22 rounds or whatever. Yeah, then if someone said, here's how much fuel we've saved and actually showed you X amount of gallons of fuel that they'd saved over the year, you'd be like, oh, okay, cool. That's good. But I don't know, I'm kind of nonplussed with the CC thing. I'm like, sure, it might be cool, but I don't really care. It's more Casey Stoner's input that I was intrigued by.
Yeah, should we go into that?
If you want, Lauren, were you about to say something?
Yeah.
Yeah, no. I just think it was just sort of adding on to the points that you guys have both said, and I think just a little bit of like people have been begging for real changes for a long time, the last 3 to 4 years now that we've sort of been harping on about how much we're not liking this era of bikes. But we've announced new rules and regulations, and all of a sudden everyone's going, "Oh, no,
Don't want
no, no, no,
that.
no,
Yeah,
no!
yeah.
Don't! Why are you changing? Like the sport's absolutely fine the way it is." And you're going, "Whoa! Last week you were saying you hated it the way that it was." It's just annoying me that people are like begging for change. Change comes, and now
Yeah.
all of a sudden we don't want it. It's the same thing with when Liberty Media got announced. Oh,
Yeah,
we need to have
exactly.
better social media. You need to access this, this, and this. Okay, let's bring in the people who run F1, the biggest motorsport in
Yeah.
the world. Oh, no, why did you do
No.
that? That's the
Yeah.
dumbest decision you could ever make. Sure, F1's crap. And it's like, what?
You just can't please everyone.
You literally can't win at all. And then
Yeah.
lastly, I think with the sustainable fuel, which is then went on to, I think with that one, I think that's a bit of a tick box
Yeah.
exercise.
Yeah, for sure.
Because like Declan mentioned at the start of this podcast, like you're still flying how many planes with how much cargo, you're driving how many trucks to each
The
round when you're in Europe.
motorhomes.
Yeah.
And all that.
I
Private
think
jets,
it's a
whatever.
bit rich. I think going to 100% sustainable fuel, they're going to have to do something. It is obviously the future of motorbike racing, and it sort of keeps the happy medium of we're going to have great sounding bikes still for
True.
years to
Yeah.
come, which is what we want. That's why e-racing maybe isn't as popular, because people like to hear the sound of bikes. So when you look at it that way, you're good, sort of going, okay, well, we've compromised here. You can still listen to your nice sounding bike, but it's just going to have some sustainable fuel in it. But I think it's a bit of a tick box exercise. Yeah.
The way you phrase that just sounds like you're like talking a child out of a tantrum. Do you know what I mean? It's like, you can still have the nice sounding motorcycles, okay? You're just gonna have the sustainable fuel, and then that way it's not going to be the electric bikes, okay?
Yeah.
That is exactly what it's like, though. Do you know what I mean? Easy.
Yeah.
It's like, well,
It
it's
is
either
that. I think you
Yeah.
have to do this with everyone, with every single aspect of this sport.
Oh.
It's just nothing is good enough for anybody at
No.
this point.
I mean, I think in 10 years' time, we will look back on the 2026 season and the Ducati GP26, that year's RC16 and Aprilia. We'll look back at them and think, God, those bikes were unreal. The lap times that they could do, the speeds that they could. Do you know what I mean? They'll look back on them in 10 years and be like, those bikes were absolutely immense.
Yeah.
I think it's just one of those things. Time passes and people just, it's
It's
the
like people look at the
rose-tinted
500s
goggles.
and like, wow.
Yeah, exactly.
It's
like,
just a thing that happens, and we look back and we go, wow, and then we move on.
yeah.
Because now we're looking back to 10 years ago and we're going, why can we not have a season like 2013, 2014,
Yeah.
2015? That's all we're begging for. Okay, MotoGP have gone, yeah, let's do it then. Let's go back. Like, even the look of the bike is going to be different with the changing of like the size of the front of the bikes and the way the nose sits. Like, it's changing by like 50 millimeters, which is nothing in the grand scheme of things.
Couple
but
inches, yeah.
Yeah, in the graphics that they showed within the email, like it's going to make a massive difference, and the bikes are going to look, a bit more like they used to, and I think that's another positive. They're not going to
Yeah.
be such an eyesore with all these ugly added extras on them with stupid like dino wings on the back. Like, I'm sick of it, so I'm happy to have a bike that looks like a motorbike.
I think.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Cameron.
One more point. We're talking about how everybody longs for these races that they remember from 10 years ago, 20 years ago, whatever. But they really fail to remember that on almost every race, you had back markers. You know what I mean? You had people getting lapped everywhere. That doesn't really happen anymore because the technology and the concessions and the way things are being run has brought the racing closer overall, like grid wide. it's not perfect, but we do fail to remember that really, if you weren't one of these sort of top 5 names back then you were a second off pole, and you were just miles off of a race win. It was almost hopeless, So it's not hopeless. It was still a great time, I'm sure, riding bikes in the MotoGP field, but yeah, like people are really quick to remember like that side of the racing being a bit crap, and they just remember these great duels between, your aliens and such. But yeah, if we can find a middle ground between the kind of closeness we've got now, but then the exciting racing that we had up at the front back then, nice winner.
Yeah. It does make me giggle a bit because like people on social media complain for ages about the ride height devices and the aero. We don't like it. We don't like it. We hate all this. So the MotoGP are like, all right, well, we'll get rid of the ride height devices and we'll reduce the aero. And all the fans are like, oh no, we don't want that. And you're like, what do you want, bro? But I think people just don't like change is the main thing. But to go on to Casey Stoner's points, because he's a rider who went from the 990cc's to the 800s, despised the 800s, and then went back onto a 1000cc, and very much like the 1000cc back in 2012.
Oh yeah.
Obviously, he did win title on the 800 as well for the Honda RC2 12V. Oh, that means finally in 2027 we will see the RC214V.
Well, that's exciting.
That is exciting because we've had the RC213V since 2012.
I think we should have had the 214V a while ago.
They change the upper number every time the engine configuration changes.
Right.
So the RC211V, until the 800s, then the RC212, now the RC213, so we'll get the RC214V in 2027.
I'll sleep tonight.
Yeah. To nerds like me, that's cool. But yeah, Casey Stoner, who obviously, like I said, is a rider who went through all those things, basically said that the only, and only in capital letters, improvement in the current rules is the banning of the ride height and hole shot devices. Nothing else will benefit the sport for the future. Only the engineers will get the benefits.
Right. ¿Por qué?
I don't know why.
But surely you can't have the bikes as fast as they are now with no aero.
But maybe that's the point. If you get rid of the aero and stuff like that, then they won't be as fast anyway. And that's the whole point of reducing the CC anyway.
But we're not getting rid of aero. We're just making the bikes narrower.
Yeah, and reducing the aeros.
Yeah.
Well, in terms of like the aero on the back has to be homologated, and you can only change that once per season, which is quite big because I feel like we do see that change quite a bit at the minute.
Yeah.
But like
it's still
size of the wings and stuff is going to be like quite a big I know we're not taking them all off, but yeah, maybe he's right. Maybe with 1000cc at the minute and the speeds that they're doing, they don't need to. I don't know.
The aero, let's say like the side pods and stuff that go on them. An 850cc engine is going to be narrower than a 1000cc engine as well. So I mean, there's some of your 50mm reduction anyway. Although I mean, the sort of the engine, the fairing down the side of the engine is not the widest part of the bike at the moment, is it? It's typically these ears that stick out of the front of the fairing, isn't it? So I mean, they can chop them off a bit. The whole bike is going to be slightly narrower. They're still going to have side pods, smaller. Like we're just going to see the same aero we've got, just less
just a bit smaller.
Yeah, because they've got the designs and the shapes, and I say shapes like a proper like idiot. The shapes of the aero. I'm sure there's like a technical term for it, but like they know what works. The aero and everything that we see at the moment is really just a symptom of the data working and them getting the best they can out of their working procedures, and like that's all still going to carry forward into 2027. So we're going to see similar looking bikes, and we're still going to see likely Ducati and KTM and those that are working hardest with the data that they've got and their processes and procedures, like the bikes just look like the way they do as a result of the internal working of the team, not the bike doesn't just come out looking like that. It's what I'm saying. They don't just draw it and think that's how it's going to work. It's refined over number crunching.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's it, and it will be interesting to see. I think.
Yeah, I'm excited.
The whole thing about it, the spectacle being better. So somebody said smaller engine equals lighter bikes, each equals more agility and possibility to overtake, and then said, why do you talk if you don't even have a bike or a degree? Which is quite funny, because Stoner replied to the comment and said, lighter bikes equals shorter braking points, which is true, which equals less opportunity for overtaking. It also means there's more corner speed, meaning more dirty air from aero, meaning high brake and tyre temperatures, meaning more difficulty to overtake as well. So it's safe to say Stoner's very much in the camp of being against these updates, shall we say.
Well, the 850cc update.
Yeah. Yeah, mainly so, yeah, which makes sense. I think genuinely we can talk about it till the cows go home about how it'd be, things like that, and we can make speculation like we are now, but until it actually happens, until these bikes are actually riding around the track, gaining data and seeing the lap times they do and seeing the races they do and the entertainment they can bring, we won't know until it actually happens. And I think
exactly
MotoGP are trying to do something good for the sport. And they've worked with various people to try and enable that and enable the spectacle to come back, because MotoGP spectacle has, shall we say, fallen down over recent years. So if they can make a way of improving the racing, this is what they're going to do. And I don't blame them for that. I think that, the spectacle can be improved, and whilst also making it more eco-friendly. And I think this is the best way to go around it.
Yeah, I think it's interesting that people are blaming Liberty Media for this as well. It's like, what, they just got here? You think these regulations were just drawn up in a napkin?
They don't even own it until the end of the year when the EU sign off.
Like, everyone needs to just calm down a little bit.
Exactly. Like Taylor Swift said, you need to calm down.
Nice.
If they have a chance to point a finger, people will do it. That's the thing. So it was all Dorna's fault before, but now it's all Liberty Media's fault, because they're, at the end of the season going to have 80 whatever % of the company. So
absolutely wild.
Yeah, but they don't own it yet. And people just need to chill on the whole Liberty Media front.
Focal, they'll get over it. They always do.
They do. But yeah, heading on to Le Mans, because we spent 45 minutes nearly talking about that.
Oh, love it.
We've got Le Mans this weekend.
Yay.
A track that is notorious for crashes, shall we say.
Oh, yeah.
It's always carnage there, but we saw Augusto Fernandez finish 4th there last year.
Mm.
Can he do it again this year?
No.
No, he's kind of way off at the moment, isn't he?
Yeah, he's not even at the point he was last year at this, in his rookie season.
Worried he won't keep his seat.
I don't think he will,
no.
if I'm honest. Which is a shame, because he did do well last year for a rookie, but he's almost done worse this season than in his rookie season, so...
I think Jack Miller will be on that bike next year anyway.
If he's lucky, if I'm honest.
Well, yeah.
But what do I know?
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
What do we know at all? No,
That's been the point of this podcast, really, hasn't it? Like, what do we know? Nothing. This whole episode.
What do we know? Absolutely zilch. But yeah, I think he's just been so overshadowed by Pedro at the moment that it's going to be difficult for him to try and really show what he can do.
Yes, it's partly because of Pedro, but I'm not gonna lie, I don't think it really matters who his teammate is. He's really, really slipped under the radar in these first 4 races. We have
I
not
agree.
spoken about him
Yep, I agree.
at all.
Hmm. We spoke about Pedro and Marquez most of the time, to
Yeah,
be fair.
exclusively.
Yeah.
Like,
And a bit of
Yeah.
Vinales every now and
yeah,
then. Yeah.
little
Yeah.
bit of
Well, but even
Pecco.
Vinales kind of
Yeah,
went back to what he was normally doing, isn't it? Hasn't he?
yeah. I
Mm,
didn't want to say I told you also, but
I think I said on the podcast, I was like, just remember 2017 when he came in and smoked everyone and then
yeah.
disappeared. And yeah, he might be back again this weekend because he got his first podium on the Suzuki here. And I don't want to be a cynic about the whole thing, but I'm also like,
I
it's
think.
very Vinales.
Well, yeah, but I think it also goes hand in hand with literally what we were saying earlier about how the bikes maybe mask a lot of the performance, and
Hmm.
at present Ducati is still by far the best bike on the grid. So,
Yeah. I
you know,
think,
Aprilia have inconsistencies. We know they have inconsistencies, so
yeah.
I'm not putting it all on Maverick, but I'm not surprised that things went the way that they did in Jerez. But yeah, you're right. He literally could come out and get the full 37 points again this weekend, and I would not be
I wouldn't
surprised.
be surprised, no.
Well, I mean, with
Absolutely
Jerez
not.
with Vinales as well, we always talk about how things need to be perfect for him. And the Saturday was absolutely not perfect with track conditions and everything. It was slightly
Yeah.
sketchy. There'll just been that thing in his mind that says, I can't push this bike as hard as I want to because there's wet patches that you pretty much can't see, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, which makes sense that you need to ride a bit more
Mm-hmm.
cautiously after seeing everybody stack it the day before the sprint race.
Yeah.
You know, that is important. But when you got Marquez and Bagnaia ready to put it all on the line,
Yeah. Yeah.
you know, there's a reason why both of them are world champions in MotoGP and they're at the front consistently. It's because they are willing to give everything they've got
Win
and
it or
put it
bin it.
on the line week in, week out. Yeah, you saw the tire marks down Marquez's knee and down his arm and all that
Wild.
because he was giving his all to try and get at that, and that's why riders are world champions because they try to do that. And there's a lot of riders down the grid who I do wonder about in MotoGP if they can do that. Obviously, Augusto Fernandez is a Moto2 world champion off his own back and off his own right. But there may be some riders on the grid that I'm like, if it was a level playing field, would you be as scoring as well as you have been? And a rider
Yeah.
like Ralph Fernandez, who came up and was exceptional in Moto2, like pretty good in Moto3, would he shine or would he flop? And that's an interesting one to think about as well.
Thing is, though, he's not got the bike excuse because the RC16 is solid.
Ralph Fernandez.
Sorry, Ral. Sorry, Augusto.
But yes,
Yeah.
Augusto doesn't have the excuse either.
No.
He did have some
Yeah.
issues at her refs with the bike that wasn't his fault, but
Mm. Yeah, Ralph Fernandez is an interesting one because we did expect him to do
'Cause he got a top
really
10.
well.
And I was like, oh, nice.
He's definitely had top tens. Plus, he was testing the 2024 bike.
To be fair, he was 10th and 11th in America and Jerez. Which isn't horrendous, especially when his teammate Miguel Oliveira is struggling a little bit. To be fair, 15th, 9th, 11th, 8th. It's okay, but it's not where it used to be on that KTM.
It is an odd one, and you wonder how much more time he would have in the paddock considering the names that are coming up.
I feel like we've been saying that for years, though, the names that
Yeah,
are
we
coming
have.
up, and I'm really struggling to see. I don't think teams are being as brutal anymore, minus KTM.
Yes, minus KTM. Teams used to give you 1 year, and if
Yeah.
you didn't perform in that year, you were out.
I think at the moment as well, Moto 2, for the last, with the exception of Pedro Acosta, Moto 2, this
Standard
year and
dropped a
last
bit.
year, yeah, you're kind of like, nobody
It's
looks
stagnant.
unreal.
But we've said this for
Yeah.
a few years. No one looks
Mhm.
like they should be moving to MotoGP.
Yeah, exactly. And we talk about these Moto 3 talents coming up, being like, they're incredible. Like, they're going to set the world alight as soon as they start moving up through these ranks. And then they get to Moto 2 and they kind of underwhelm a little. Or they just sort of fall mid-pack, and they do okay for a rookie season, but they're not like these incredible, or standing out as incredible talents as you peg them at when they're in their Moto3 or Junior GP days, you know?
Yeah, 100%. And maybe that's an issue with the teams themselves,
Could
or
be.
MotoGP bikes being too difficult to ride, or Moto2 bikes being this, that, and the other. But it's an interesting one because we always say, like, oh, there's too many. So I've just put a photo of the GP8 in the group chat because I just popped up and I was like, wow, what a beautiful looking bike.
Well, I was just looking as well at the rookies that we've had up. Obviously, this is why it feels stagnant, because this year we only have Pedro Costa. Last year we only had Augusto Fernandez.
Yeah.
2022 we had 5 people move up.
From Moto2.
From Moto2 to MotoGP, you had Marco Bezzecchi, Darren Binder, Remy Gardner, Raul Fernandez, and Fabio Di Giannantonio. In 2021, you had 4 people move into the class with Enea Bastianini, Jorge Martin, Luca Marini, and Lorenzo Savadori. And then
look where 3 of them have done. Well, Savadori was kind of a wild card, to be fair.
Well, yeah, and then you had 3 people move up in 2020.
He did replace Dan. He did replace Bradley Smith most of the year, think about it. But yeah.
Yeah, but point is, the last 2 years, it feels stagnant because it has been.
Yeah, it has. And carry on, Cameron.
It's interesting. You just said that list of names that graduated in 2022 up to MotoGP. Those that didn't go on to a Ducati
are gone.
Are like gone. Basically.
Yeah, Darren Binder, Remy Gardner.
Yeah.
Yeah, Raul's
and
there.
Raul's the only lucky one who.
Yeah,
Raul's
been. I mean, and Raul easily could have been gone.
But then, if you look the year before, look how many of them graduated onto a Ducati, and look at how many of them are still here.
All of them. See?
Whoa.
Bosh.
There it is. That's the point. That's what we've been trying to get at for the last hour.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you look at the riders who've come up since, and there's only really one rider each year, but then the talent that has come up over the last few years, again, it has dipped a little bit. You know, there are talented riders in Moto3, like your David Alonso, that you're like, yeah, they'll do really well. Izan Guevara, you're like, wow, he'll do amazing in Moto2. Where the hell's he?
Yeah.
You know.
Here's my next point then. Why are we not taking more chances on the younger Moto2 riders?
Because it's too risky.
What do you mean?
Because when you look, say, 2022, for example, you've got Bezzecchi, Gardner, Fernandez, top 3 in the championship.
Yeah.
Then you've got Fabio Di Giannantonio, who won.
Yeah,
like one Moto2
There is a
race.
reason why he got that.
You've got Darren Binder, who obviously did a Jack Miller and came straight from Moto3.
And did okay on the
All things considering. Why are we not taking more chances? And why is it only the person who wins the championship is getting moved up? Why not 2nd, 3rd, maybe even 4th? Why are the people who are at the back getting so much time? Is it because, same thing as earlier, is it because they actually are a lot better than the bike that they're on at the minute, but because of aero, performance is being masked, and then the people at the front maybe are getting more time than they should be because that's the best bike on the grid?
Well, Raul Fernandez only got pushed up. Well, only went up because he got forced up. But then Di Gia, when he left Speed Up and returned to Gresini, was on a 1+1 with you'll do a year in Moto2 with us, and then you'll do a year in MotoGP after that. But which is fair enough. But then it does go back to your point of Gresini to take a chance on him, and they don't really
they gave
take
him 2 years
chances
as well.
And they gave him time, and he did pull out a win. But then I think it's because you look at the current Moto2 teams and Moto2 riders and the championship, you're like, oh, Arbolino, it'd be a great rider in MotoGP, but then bang, you make it so that now he has to manage his tyres and he's absolutely nowhere.
What's to say that if they took a chance on him last year, second in the championship. What's to say that if he got moved up into MotoGP, that he would be able to manage his tyres?
Yeah, there's
Because,
nothing, is there?
That's it. Yeah.
last weekend he looked a lot better than he has done all season. What's to say that if he didn't make that move to MotoGP, Ayagura, another one, second in the championship the year before, why did he not go up?
Yeah, because he just said he wasn't ready, really, didn't he? I think
Lies.
Joe Roberts should step up. I think he's been in Moto2 a while. He's in the championship. He's done quite well. Get him on a track house. If we're talking about giving riders chances, get Joe Roberts up. Furman Aldiger's going up. Get rid of Nakagami and put Ayagura on there. And see how Aaron Canet could do in MotoGP as well.
Well, this is the thing. We keep talking about all these names in Moto2 that were like, they haven't, done enough. They've come like second, third, fourth in a championship. What else can you do other than winning the championship? And, what are your chances? Because guess what? There's guys from Moto3 coming up,
Yeah.
And there is the odd occasion, that they start doing very well. Like Sergio Garcia is now starting to do very well in Moto2. And now that's another guy you have to beat. Whereas you should have been up in MotoGP 2 years before, because someone should have taken a chance on you and you should have got rid of a MotoGP rider who's been there, 5 years and isn't doing anything.
Yeah, because let's be real, Nakagami is stealing a living at the moment.
Well, I'm not putting names on it, but yes.
I am.
Yeah, I know
It's
you
fine,
are.
I'll
I'm
take
glad
credit.
you are, but there are riders that you're sort of wondering, why are they still there? And why are we not taking the chances on Moto2 riders? Because, we're going through a vicious cycle now of going, the likes of Aaron Canet hasn't done enough to get into MotoGP. Yeah, he has. Like, I've just come to that epiphany there now that I've decided.
Aaron Canet should go up.
Well, not even just Aaron Canet, but we need to be taking chances again. After 2 years of just taking the winner up, we're going to get to the stage like F1 where you win F2 and you can't even get an F1 seat anymore. Like, what
which is
more
awful.
can you do other than being at the top of the championship? Whether that be first, second, or third.
Yeah, you are right. I feel like we have this discussion
Sorry.
every time.
Yeah.
Tangent.
Every
yeah.
episode. But yeah, I think, because I tried to talk about Le Mans, but there isn't really much to talk about, is there? Like,
Miller usually does okay
I mean,
here.
can
Yeah.
Miller do well? Can Pedro win? Can Marquez win?
Can Fabio show some home,
Will he have a sick helmet design? No,
Yeah.
Zarco will.
a little bit of home advantage? I doubt it, but it'd be nice.
Oh, we get an
Yeah.
actual record-breaking crowd.
Yes. Oh god, that was so bad.
Fumble.
So bad.
Oh dear.
Yeah.
God. Yeah. Should we go on to predictions? Because that's normally when we could talk a little bit about riders and stuff like that.
Go on then.
Go on then, Governor. Right. So, that was terrible.
Don't do
I
that
know,
again.
because you're cringing.
Yeah.
But it's all good. It's all good. Right. So, Le Mans Moto 3. Cameron, who have you got for pole?
Is anyone not racing? Has anyone got an appendix out or?
Raider's probably a TBA, but
I'd say he'd be back by now.
yeah, you'd hope
Yeah.
so.
It's hard to look past Alonso, isn't it? Really?
Yeah, that's who
Yeah.
I've got, to be honest.
Yeah.
You going Lonzo?
Yes, please. Yeah.
Okay. And Lauren?
I'm going to go with Colin Vire.
Via, nice. Last time winner. Moto 3 in Le Mans is always a crazy one. Third place I'll do. God. Just trying to think who was on the podium last year at Le Mans in Moto 3.
Holgado Sasaki Masia.
Nice, that was
Do
quick.
you have that in front of you?
Yeah.
I was like,
play.
there's no way you've pulled that out of your arse.
It was good though.
Yeah.
I almost believed it. I was like, wow.
Yeah, if you'd have said yeah, but like, bloody hell, Cameron.
Yeah.
What can I say? What can I say?
Yeah.
Nah, it's in front of me.
Oh, okay, shame. Yeah, so Moto 3, I've got second place. Third place, I'm going to give to who was there last time actually at Jerez? Piqueras. No, that's who we predicted. It was nowhere near. So it was Munoz, wasn't it? And Ortola, Ortola for third, I think. With his boss getting the F1 win yesterday, I think Ortola third is a nice little tip to him.
His sponsorship is boss.
Yeah, well, you know what I mean.
Here's him a bit of money.
True. Lauren, third place, please.
Colin Vire.
Nice. Okay, and Cameron third.
Might get a little boring and go with Artola.
Okay, yeah.
I think it's
copy
gonna
me.
rain, you know. I just got that feeling.
It always rains in Le Mans, let's be real.
I mean, it was dry last year, but...
Just okay. Every year but last year it rains. So, second place, please, Lauren.
Danny Holgado.
Nice. He's the only person from last year's podium who is still in Moto2, and I've also gone Holgado, so that's great. And Cameron, please.
I love Vire for
Vire.
for the year.
Okay,
Yeah.
I've gone with Alonso for the win. Cameron and Lauren.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, fair enough. Yeah, that was an easy one.
Yeah.
Okay, Moto2 pole. I'll start with myself. It was Aldeguer last time, and Canet the race before that, and Gonzalez before that. Let's throw it out there. I'm going to go Arbolino.
For Paul?
Yep.
Interesting.
That got me listening again.
Did.
Cameron?
Oh dear. O2 pole. See, I went the wrong side of the beta tool speed up last time. I went Lopez, so I guarantee if I go Aldeguer this time, it'll be Lopez. Let's. Oh dear. Oh, I don't know. Let's have Garcia for a pole.
Garcia.
Yeah.
Okay. Nice. Good shout. Okay. And Lauren, please.
Fermin Aldeguer.
Nice.
I was really hoping you wouldn't say him, Cameron, because I was
Yeah, he'll do it now. He'll get pole.
Yeah, well,
Yeah,
I
he
picked him,
will.
so maybe not.
True. That's true. Cameron for third place, please.
Who's good in the wet?
I know somebody, but I'm not going to say.
I also know someone, but I'm predicting it's going to be dry.
Do you reckon?
I'm wanting it to be dry. Although
I'm gonna go on if it's gonna be mixed conditions or wet. Can I have Baltus, please?
For third, okay.
Yeah, can I have Barry Baltus? Big Bazza.
Big Baz.
Yeah.
Okay. I've gone Gonzalez.
Safe
For
for
third.
third. Yeah.
Yeah. And Lauren, please.
Tony Arbolino.
Okay. She's copying me for pole, clearly there.
No, it's for third.
I've
What do you mean?
inspired you. I've inspired you.
No, you haven't. I had it. If I could prove it,
Yeah.
I had it wrote down before you said anything.
Yeah, okay. They'll say. So, Joe Roberts has been third the last 3 races in a row.
He's been second.
In second last.
Second, sorry, I mean.
What about Joe
Lauren.
Roberts?
Who are you going with second, please?
I'm changing my answers. I haven't said a thing.
Okay.
Haven't said a thing. I'd like Fermin
Blumenach.
Aldeguer in second, thanks.
Okay. And who you have in third? Oh, wait, no, you're
Wait,
keeping
what?
Arbolino. All right.
You know, Arbolino's staying. That I did have down, but I've just changed my answer.
Okay. Cameron second.
Fairman.
Nice. Okay. I've gone Garcia. And to win, I've gone Joe Roberts.
Me too.
Nice.
He's not going to do
Nice.
it anymore.
Wow. And Cameron?
I was gonna go Roberts, but I want to go someone else now, just for
For that.
You should.
yeah, just because.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I might just pick an outlier just for a laugh.
Dixon.
Nah. Who have I said so far? Baltus.
You said Baltus Aldeguer.
Baltus and Aldeguer.
Arbolino's good in the wet.
Give me a
This is
Gura for
like-
the win. Why not?
Okay, nice. I mean, it might not even be raining, so.
You're so
Yeah.
confident it's gonna be wet.
Right,
Well, I gotta have something.
that's true. That is true.
I don't know.
Right, so MotoGP pole. I'm going with Marc Marquez. Who are you two going for?
I need to have a think about this.
All right, Cameron.
Ah. To clarify, are you going M Marquez or A Marquez?
So M Marquez, although A Marquez is pretty good around Le Mans.
He is. Who could get pole? There's like 3 or 4 names, really, isn't there?
Bez won here last year.
He did, yeah. Martin. Why not?
Martin.
For pole.
Interesting.
What was the surprise?
Well, I don't know because
Yeah, he's pretty. He's not great at pole, is he?
no, it's terrible at pole.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm just thinking, like, will he try and play it safe after his crash in the race last weekend?
No.
Nah.
Fair enough. Okay, and
You wouldn't know
Lauren
the word
Pole,
safe
please.
if it smacked him in the face. What do you want?
True, true.
I've gone with Pecco Bagnaia.
Well,
Nice,
there we go.
solid. Okay, Cameron sprint winner.
Oh, goodness me. Martin.
Nice. I've also got Martin and Lauren.
I'm gonna say. I'm looking at last year's stuff, but it really means nothing when, like,
Yeah.
a lot of these people aren't really on the pace this year.
Zarco was 3rd.
Yeah. Maybe he was on the Ducati last year, though, so it makes a bit more sense. I'm gonna say Brad Binder.
Brad Binder.
Oh.
Nice. Okay. Right. 3rd place in the main race, I've put Bastianini. Cameron?
Yeah, that's a good shout, Bastianini. I might go. Oh, dearie me. Let's have a little bit. Let's have Alex Marquez. Let's give him a shot.
Nice.
Let's do it.
Okay. I like it. And Lauren, please.
Jorge Martin.
Okay. Right. 2nd, Cameron, please.
Right. Well, if I'm going rain predictions for the other 2 classes, I'm gonna have to maintain that for this podium, and
As it magically dries up within an hour.
yeah. Watch it. It'll dry up in the afternoon. Let's go with Miguel.
Okay. Okay. Interesting.
Your face, Lauren. What about it? What about it?
Very interesting.
Listen. Come on. If it is raining / mixed conditions, I feel like Miguel might.
Yeah,
have a
he would
shout.
be up there. No, you're right, yeah.
So what are you laughing for?
Because you don't know if it's gonna rain.
I know, but I literally just explained myself.
Like, has anyone
I just
got
explained myself.
a weather?
Let's have a look. I'll try and have a look now.
Do you know about like weather forecasts, or do you just not bother in Northern Ireland because you're like it's gonna rain?
I mean, it always rains. What are you on about?
That's what I mean. So like, there are apps for that.
Sunny. Friday,
Yeah, it's
Saturday, sunny. Friday, Saturday, Sunday. 25 degrees top temperature.
Cool. It's Le Mans, mate.
Cameron's like, didn't care, didn't ask.
Do you know when it is gonna rain? Next Monday.
Ah.
You're a day late.
You're a day late.
Well, we'll see.
Well, we'll see. So you've gone with Oliveira.
Yeah.
Okay. 2nd, I've gone with Bagnaia because he's going to have a duel with Marc Marquez, and this time Marquez is going to come out on top and he's going to win. That's who I've got to win. Right.
Glad you said that.
Lauren, did I take your 2nd place?
No,
Sorry, I don't think I did.
because you
Sorry.
just had to
Right.
project that onto
Yeah.
everyone.
Well, yeah.
I think Pedro Acosta is going to be in second place because he's the
Okay.
GOAT.
He is the GOAT. That is true. Last weekend, he took a week off to let everyone else.
He crashed.
I think
in
that
warm-up.
crash
Come on.
shook him a bit. Yeah.
It was a big crash as well.
It was his first big MotoGP
Yeah,
crash.
it was.
Yeah, I think it might take him a few rounds to get back to that.
No, he's a kid. He'll bounce. They're all made of
Yeah, he's
rubber.
bounced. He's probably fine already. Like, let's be real.
Yeah.
Right, Cameron winner, please.
Yeah, M. Marquez, please. It'll happen one of these times.
I think
predicted him
now
for
that
the
he's-
win every
Look,
single time.
if you predict it enough times until Sachsenring, it's gonna happen.
Yeah,
Like, you can't go wrong. Once you get to the Sachsenring and it happens, we can get
Yeah.
over it. But until then,
that's
yeah.
true. What about you, Lauren?
Yeah, Marc Marquez, please.
Nice. Well, I think after the crash out of the the Jerez race, the Jerez sprint, and then the Portimao race, and then America at P1, he's going to be hurting because he knows those points that he lost would have him leading the championship now. So I think now it's time to seal the deal.
Yeah, I think he needs to think about it a bit more. And I think the way he rode Sunday race day in Jerez, I think it was so much more calculated. As much as he's a
Yeah.
win it or bin it sort of guy,
He was
he
like, "Take the
knew,
points."
he was like, not that he settled for second, because that's not what he did at all, but he was like, I need to stay on this bike. And at the start of the weekend, he'd made all those comments about like how him and the biker won, and he like knows it
It's
inside
inside
out.
the bike.
Yeah, bit weird, but it's gonna come true eventually. So
Yeah, it will. That's
Mm.
it. Right, is that what we've got time for?
If you say so, sir.
Preferably.
Yeah.
Sound.
Goodness me. I'm sorry
What?
to keep you on a Monday night, Lauren. Jeez, oh.
I know, bank holiday Monday, and you're
I know.
sitting here talking about
Chatting
motorbikes.
about MotoGP.
What a shame.
Terrible.
It's been a busy day.
Oh, yes. But yeah, if that's all we've got time for, then we'll see you next week after Le Mans. Thank you very much for listening.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.